Morning. I'm live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and wherever. So wherever you're watching this from, morning and welcome. It's 8:30 on a Monday morning, which means I'm here doing a property finance Q&A, because apart from bank holidays and personal holidays, I do it every Monday morning. And people, I guess, I've been doing it for 18 months now. So I guess people know to show up, and they're very welcome. So I appreciate the views. I appreciate the questions. And I'm happy to give answers. Answers based on brokering pretty much every type of finance, from a simple buy-to-let mortgage up to multi-million-pound development homes. For some 20 years, really. So a few people saying good morning. So good morning. If you're a regular here, you'll know what I do. If this is your first time, well, listen, you just fire questions about any aspect of property finance, and I'll answer the question. That's the deal. It's a Q&A. That's why it's called a property finance Q&A. So, yes, that's what we do. And we've got a couple of people saying good morning. Matthew says, morning, good summit. Yeah, now what that's referring to is the buy, refurb, refinance summit events that I run. I don't do masses of them. I do a few during the year. And Matthew couldn't, was booked to come in the Birmingham one, not Sunday yesterday, but the previous Sunday. It was great, Matthew, actually. Thanks for asking. You're going to come to one early in 2022, and I'll look forward to meeting you in person then. But yeah, the BRR summits are pretty good, really. They have, it's a one-day event where, guess what you learn? You learn about how to buy, refurb and refinance. Yeah, closing the name, really. So, yeah, we had a couple of good speakers there. Adam Lawrence was telling us how to really scale up, to go large in property if you want to. Not everyone wants to, but he did. And he's amassed a portfolio of 100 plus properties using buy, refurb, refinance. So he explained to us, those present, how he did it. And we had Sue Sims there as well, talking about social housing, which is a very popular topic at the moment. Yeah, and I shared what I've learned over 20 odd years about buy, refurb, refinance. So all in all, good event. One last one, actually, the last one of 2021. I'm going to do a midweek one. Never done that before, but, I got to thinking, well, hang on a minute. Maybe some people just like weekends with the family. Why wouldn't you? And don't want to intrude on their weekend by going to an event. So for those people, I'm running a midweek buy, refurb, refinance summit. It's on the 20th of October. It's down in Heathrow. Still got tickets available for that. Let me just put a link to that in here. Quite simple. brrsummit.com. Pop that in there. Yeah. If you know someone that wants to come along to one of those, or to that one, or you want to come along, whichever, click the link or pass them the link. So that will be the last one. I'll restart those again in early 2022, probably about February. I think I'll do the first one. And we'll do a smattering throughout the spring and early summer. Probably wrap them up in about June, and then start again in September in the autumn. So that's pretty much the way for those. So let's have a look. So, hey, if you're watching this, you want some, get some questions, fire some questions in, because I don't have much of a Q&A if you don't ask questions. So morning to a few people that have said morning there. Here we go. Here's a question. Now, I always put them up on screen so you can read them as well as hear me reading them out. I think that aids most people. Can I get ending, I think you mean lending there. Can I get lending on modular homes? Answer, yes, you can. Now, modular homes are, there's a variety of them, but they're essentially new materials, or not brick and block, which is classed as standard construction, certainly in England and Wales, and not things like timber frame. So these are sort of different things. In fact, on my YouTube channel, I did a case study of one of my students doing an ICF modular new build. So if you want to check that out, let me find my YouTube channel, pop a link into there. There we are. Let's pop that link in there. Put this over there. Yeah, just go and find the case studies, and it's Mandy and what's his name? It's Carlton. There we are. Mandy, sorry, Carlton. If you ever watch this, Mandy and Carlton and the ICF new build. Now you can, Simon, because every modular build manufacturer, before they go to market, is going to line up at least a panel of lenders who are happy to lend. It wouldn't make a lot of business sense to market a modular home where they could only sell it to cash buyers. So yeah, they do. You may not get a full spread of lenders right this time, but pretty much any modular property you can buy will have some lenders. So the best thing to do is to contact the manufacturer and ask for the panel of lenders that they've approved that modular build for. Going forward in the future, I think modular builds time is yet to come. With energy efficiency now being of primary importance, and the recent furore on energy prices, I think is a pointer that of the advantages of going off grid, if you can, with stuff like ground source or air source heat pumps, wind turbines, solar panels, all that type of thing. Making yourself energy self-sufficient, I think, is probably even more valid now. So and modular homes are set up to coincide with that. So I think their time is going to come, and more going forward, 10, 20 years, more and more properties will be of modular build rather than standard stuff. So a few more people popping on, a few more people saying morning. Hey, give me some questions. I like questions because I like to answer them. And Simon's come back there. Great info as usual. Glad you like it. I try to give a bit of background to any question as well, not just say, "Oh, do this, do that," or yes, but give you a background as to why it is the way it is. And certainly with modular buildings, lenders start off being unfamiliar and distrustful. I think you could say, but then they come around to it. So there we are. Great. So questions, please. There we are. This is the point of the Q&A. Now, while we're doing that, are you a member of my Recycle Your Cash Facebook group? It's Recycle Your Cash for property investors. And if you're not, come along. It's a great way to keep up to date with everything that I'm doing. So let me just pop a link into here for you. So I'm laughing at a question Johanna's put in here. Why are you so handsome? Well, Joanna, you know what they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, don't they? So there we are. So always have a cup of tea, Andy, on a Monday morning. Now, you're a quiet bunch today. You know, I say I hang around for about half an hour and answer questions, but of course I can't answer any questions if you don't ask them. So so here's Ash. Ash, what should you include in the pack you would give to a valuer? Well, here's the point. Now, let's assume we're talking about buy, refurb, refinance, because if you're buying a property, you don't need to give the valuer any information, because if they downvalue it when you're buying a property, that's an advantage to you because it gives you something to negotiate with the seller to buy at a lower price. So you don't want to be giving any pack to a valuer for a property you're buying. But if you bought something, refurbed it, and now you're refinancing it and trying to get your money back out, now you've a vested interest in getting as high a valuation as you can. So what should you include? Well, anything that evidences the improvements that you've made to the property since you bought it, Ash. So you know the most common things are photographs, you know, to show the difference from now to when you bought the property, and a work schedule is good because the work schedule could be to show, you know, you got pictorial evidence of the photos, but you want written evidence of the work that's been done with the work schedule. So you know, those are the two big things that you need to include. So you need some sold comparables, obviously, to help them. Now, they will get their own anyway, and they won't look at yours. So surveyors would typically phone up some local agents and say, you know, we've got a property in whichever street your property's in. What have you sold recently? And how, you know, sold anything like that? How much did you sell them for? So they will do their own research, but it doesn't hurt for you to show some sold comparables. But the point is, don't rely on just sold comparables, because that's not what influences value. It's a big mistake that investors make, is thinking that valuers and surveyors are going to be overly influenced by what other properties have sold for. They're not. They're going to be influenced to a greater degree on what you've done to the property and what you can prove that you've done to the property to increase the value and improve it. So there we are. Good. A couple more questions coming in here. There we are. Alec, good to see you. Recycling your cash, is that a strategy you recommend everyone all the time? And if it doesn't recycle all of your cash, it's a no deal? Or do you use it investing tool that's really handy to have? Okay, so I would say that calling it a strategy is massively underplaying it. It's not a strategy. It's way more important than a strategy. A strategy is, I'm going to do a single AST rental. I'm going to do an HMO. I'm going to do serviced accommodation. I'm going to do commercial. I'm going to do semi-commercial. I'm going to convert commercial to resi. They're all strategies. But recycling your cash out of a deal sits above all of them, because if you don't do that, none of those ways to rent out property work as efficiently. Now, is it do I recommend it to everyone all the time? Yes, I do, with one caveat. If you're a Mr. or Mrs. Moneybags and you've got £500,000 or £1 million sitting in the bank, you don't need to recycle your cash. Just go buy what you need. But if you, as most people investing in property are, have a limited cash pot, and by just putting deposits down and getting a mortgage for the rest, you will run out of cash before you run out of the ambition to create the size of portfolio that you want. Then you have no alternative. you cannot invest in a deal if you cannot recycle your cash, because leaving too much cash in is going to stop you building the portfolio you've got. So it's only handy to have if you're loaded with cash. If you're cash limited, and again, the key definition of that is, can you put 25% deposits down, leave them in there, and build the portfolio you want to build with the cash you've got available? If the answer to that is no, then you don't have an alternative. If you can't pull your cash out of a deal, you won't build the portfolio that you've got. So there we are. Good. Great question, Alex. Joan is back with the question now. Yeah, apart from commenting on my looks. Portfolio landlords, how do you handle them? You want some, but not all. Could you take an option and sell off the undesired ones? Yeah. So what we're talking about here is a landlord that wants to get rid of a chunk of their properties. Maybe they're selling all of their properties, or just a portion of their properties. Some of them inevitably, if they build it up in a bit of a haphazard way, will suit your purposes, and other ones wouldn't. So you want some, but not all. Yeah. So simply buy them, keep the ones you want, and sell the ones you don't want. Very simple. You could do it on an option, really, or you could just buy them. Either would work. You probably get a better deal from the landlord if you say, look, I'll just take them all off you. You know, options which are a deferral of the money into the landlord's bank account can work, but it may not be as advantageous to them, and they may not be willing to drop the price as much if you kick the can down the road a year or more than a year, and them actually getting the money in their bank. So quick conclusions to a sale would generally get you the most advantageous price, but you know, whichever way works. How to finance them? Very easy, bridging finance. So we financed portfolios before. You bridge them to purchase them. You sell off the ones that you don't like and repay the bridger with the proceeds. You keep the ones you do want and you put them on mortgages. So there we are. Now, you're currently relearning my advanced training, the Ninja Investor program, Jonah. So on fast funding formula, on the section of that says double up, you can go in there and I explain in more detail exactly how we approach portfolio landlords. Okay. So next question. I've got some questions rolling in now, so that's good. There we are. But keep them coming. Hey, don't let everyone else have all the fun, will you? If you've got a question, ask it. So Facebook user. Now, what this means is that Facebook, when you're going outside of Facebook, and this is through StreamYard that I put these Q&As out, Facebook protects your identity by asking you if you're happy to reveal it. Now, if you don't click that button, then it just comes up as Facebook user, and I find out who it is and respond when I drill down into the actual questions later in the day. So with the cost of materials continue to rise, they certainly are. Do you foresee a time when the cost of works will fail to add as much to the value of the property? As in a 50k extension will reach a point where it won't add that value to a property? Well, it's a possibility, isn't it? It's a possibility, but you know, it's all about supply and demand. You know, while there's a greater demand for materials than the supply, then prices are going to go up. You know, we've seen this. I mean, if you track the oil price, the price of a barrel of crude oil going back, well, you probably track it back 50 years. You'll see, you know, price rises, price falls, you know, and it's fluctuated quite with some volatility throughout that period of time. Why is that? Supply and demand. You know, you know, manufacturers of materials can restrict the supply to push the price up. Maybe that's what's happening now. I'm not an economist, but but yeah, it might happen, it might not. But there comes a point where if suppliers push the price up too much, demand falls off because people don't buy the higher price, so they have to drop their price to reignite demand. So it's a constant interaction. Prices are a constant interaction between supply and demand. But hey, you know, I think this is a cross that bridge when you come to it scenario. You know, you might, until that happens, carry on doing work to add value to property. Christina, there we are. Are there mortgage lenders that will refinance earlier than 6 months on bridging finance? Yep, there are. And there always have been. We've been doing that for at least the last 10 years, which is amusing to me because on some of the adverts that I put out, someone put a comment there, bad advice, mate. Exactly what they said. Bad advice, mate. When you're stuck on bridging for more than 6 months until you can refinance. So my reply was bad understanding, mate. Because there's always been mortgage lenders that will refinance within 6 months. He clearly didn't know that. But it's a valid question. Yes, there is. Now, the reality is, Christina, that you will pay a higher rate of interest than if you wait 6 months. So it's a balance. It's a balance between paying a higher rate on your mortgage to save a few months of bridging costs, or paying the extra few months of bridging costs to get a lower rate. Now, as brokers, we would work out those numbers for you and say, here's what it's going to cost you. Here's what you're going to save in both scenarios, and you choose. We don't mind which you choose. If you want to wait or you want to go early, makes no difference to us. We'll give you both options. You choose which one you prefer. So there we are. Christina, very happy to help you on that. If you need any help on that, got 2 ways to contact me. You come in through YouTube. You can just go back to the home page, click on the About tab, and you'll have my contact details there. Or you can contact me on Facebook through my Facebook page. Just going to put that in the chat box. Christine, you should be able to see that there. So if you ever need to get in hold of me, there's the other way. My Kevin Wright Property Finance Expert page on Facebook. Good. Okay. So thanks for your question. So here's another of my students, Action Taker Supreme, Danny Jackson. Did my advanced training about a year ago, and he's in the middle of a bungalow conversion. Great project. Yeah. So I'm still here. You might not be able to see much of my face above the printed question, but I'm still here. It's my voice you want to hear. I think it's only Joanna that's interested in seeing my face. So you've got an unencumbered bungalow, as you know. I do know. I've been following your project with interest. It took a lot longer than we thought due to planning permission and the listed buildings nearby causing big issues. Yep, planning does often take longer than you think. You think, 8 to 12 weeks and I'll be done. Often it's not that quick. All sorted now, but 3 months behind. Yeah, well, you haven't done too bad, really, if you've got it all sorted and it's only 3 months longer than you thought. Could we release equity if we needed it? For hard cash to pay a big tax bill, not releasing equity to buy more property. Yep, can do that. It's a bridging loan. Bridgers don't really care why you're while you're asking to borrow money, all they care about, and here's the thing about bridging, they're only interested really in one thing: how are you going to give us our money back? Now, whether you're borrowing money to buy into another property or you need to pay a big tax bill to avoid incurring penalties, doesn't really matter. Now, the one thing I would say, Danny, is check this tax bill and look at the penalties if you that you're going to run up if you're late, because HMRC will charge you interest. So check how much that's going to be, but also then you know us as brokers, we can broker bridging for you. But here's the point: there's no point taking a bridging loan, or you should seriously consider taking a bridging loan if the penalty rates of interest HMRC are charging you are cheaper than the bridging loan interest. So you might actually be better to just go late and incur daily penalties rather than take a bridging loan. But bridges will certainly lend for that purpose. And so get some clarity on how much HMRC penalties are going to rise. Your accountant should be able to tell you that. And then come to us and we'll get you the best bridging terms we can, and then you do a comparison between the two, see which one is cheaper. But good to have you there, Danny. So rolling on, Barry, there we are. Good to see you. Another familiar face. You've commented on some of my stuff in the past. You're stuck with a 3.5% fixed rate deal, interest only, in a BTL until 2024. With a £7,000 early repayment charge. Yep, well, not particularly unusual. Is it worth getting a new product or just wait until 2024? Well, pretty simply, Barry, it depends. So if you got a new deal now, so let's say you got a new 5-year fixed rate deal, how much cheaper would it be? And how much would you save? So, if you can save £50 a month, how many £50 a month do you have to save to get your £7,000 back? So in other words, it's only worth it if your new product saves you more than £7,000 that you're paying to get out your current deal. There's no point getting a cheaper rate than 3.5% if you can find one, or if as brokers we can find you one, if it only saves you £5,000, for example. So it's all about how much can you save over the term of your next deal. If you can't save £7,000, to use an old phrase, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. So it's all about how much you can save, Barry. If you don't know that, let us have a delve around as brokers and find out for you. Happy to do that for you. Okay, Danny's sharing a bit of information there. For the Facebook user asking about the cost of materials, if you sign up with Lmpg, you will always add value over cost. We've saved thousands on all timbers, kitchens, bathroom, bricks, blocks, etc. Yeah, very good point. Lmpg is a buying club, for those that don't know it. Sure, we can find that in here somewhere. Let me do a quick YouTube search while we're on here. Lmpg. There we are. So I'm going to cut and paste that into here. So yeah, you pay a small annual fee, and it literally is, hundreds, to save thousands of pounds on material, especially if you're doing a big job like you're doing, like your refurb project. Yeah. So I know the people that run. I've known them. Nick, that owns Lmpg since they started. So what's the premise? The premise of Lmpg is that by grouping together with probably tens of thousands of other landlords that refurb properties, you can use that buying power to buy your materials cheaper from selected suppliers that are linked to Lmpg, for example, magnet kitchens. So you can buy magnet kitchens. Now, there are three prices that materials are charged at. There's retail price, there's trade price, and there's contract price. So you stroll into any builders merchants or whatever, without a trade account, you're going to pay retail price. If you're a tradesman and you've got a trade account with Jewson's or whoever, just to name one builders merchants, you'll get a trade discount. You'll get a trade price. But councils, housing associations, and other substantial bodies get it below trade. They get it at contract price, literally because of the volume of materials that they buy. So what Lmpg does is it allows you to buy individually, but using the collective buying power of tens of thousands of your landlord colleagues at the same price that councils buy at contract price. So that's the principle. But great share, Danny, and it's great to see that you save thousands of pounds on your project. Yeah, so that was worth a few £100s, wasn't it, to be a member? You can't fail to get your money back. I mean, if you do one refurb a year, you can't fail to make more in savings than your membership fee costs. Where are we? I'm scrolling down very carefully. Don't want to miss anything. Matthew says lol. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're lolling there, but there we are. Good. Thanks for the comment. Aston, here's another one of my students like Danny. Aston's just completed on a property more than twice as much as he previously thought he could afford to buy, simply by putting into practice what he learned on my training. Can you get a mortgage with a lender that needs 6 months ownership underway before the 6 months? So, i.e., buy in January, get the app underway in April for an offer in June, or do you have to wait until June to apply? Yeah. So, not all lenders make, as I said on the earlier question to Christina, not all lenders make you wait 6 months, but the ones that do want you to own the property for 6 months before they will accept an application. So you can't get your application in and start the process ahead of the 6 months. So no. So your choice is literally black and white. You wait 6 months to use lenders that make you wait 6 months before they start the application, or you use lenders that don't make you wait, that you can apply at any time within the 6 months of ownership. Yeah, but a good distinction there. Thanks for your question. Okay, Barry, yeah, you already checked this out then. They work out approximately the same. Okay, so what you've done from your investigation so far is you've worked out you can't get back more than the £7,000 that you're going to incur by triggering that early redemption charge. Wondering if rates will rise in the 5 year period. You know, it's an each way bet, isn't it? You know, it's black or red, isn't it, Barry? You know, it's black or red, isn't it? So they might, you know. Now, it looks like we've got, with all these energy crisis and shortage of gas and these type of things, it looks like inflation is on the way up. And normally when inflation is on the rise, interest rates follow. But you're going to it's an each way bet. You're going to take a bet, Barry. You might win, you might lose. You might sit there in another 5 years time and think, I should have stayed on my 3.5 rate. Or you could think, I'm glad I got out of my 3.5 rate and fixed it lower than that for the next 5 years. So yeah, it's an each way bet. So flip a coin and see whether you stick or twist, really. There we are. Joanna's back. Lmpg. I'm guessing you endorse Danny's comments about Lmpg being a worthwhile membership fee. Aston says, as I thought. So basically, you weigh up the extra bridging costs and are worthwhile to wait for the project you want. Yeah, and we'll do that for you, Aston. You know, you've got a relationship with us now. You've been dealing with Trinity. On the mortgage side, it's Isaac, our investment mortgage broker. So he'll find you the best rate right now within 6 months. He'll find you the best rate after 6 months that you qualify for based on your personal circumstances. And you can work out the bridging costs. You know the cost of your bridging loan already, and you just work out what balance one against the other, and whichever one comes down as costing you the least, you can do it. Now, the cost on the mortgage side is the rate over the term, or the payment over the term of the mortgage. So if you take a 5-year fixed rate, it's how much you're going to save over the next 5 years. So we do that. Aha, yeah, right, there we are. The lull, that lull took 10. Yeah, it was the guy who thought you were wrong about bridging or mortgage advice. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, well, I get a lot of people comment on my adverts that you know, it's the way of the world, isn't it? You stick your head above the parapet, people love to shoot you down, even though they lack the knowledge that you do. You know, they think they know a lot more than they do. And yeah, I often get people so I talk rubbish, or you know, yeah, or even less polite stuff. But there we are. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks. Jabba's back. There we are. Good to see you, Jabba. Hope you and your family are doing well. We are. Thank you. What are the typical commercial mortgage interest rates for a property value of 150? Okay. Now, commercial mortgages are the last thing that the word typical applies to, because unlike buy-to-let mortgages, where you have published rates of interest, proper commercial lenders, it's the rate that you get is on a case-by-case basis, and it's based on the perceived risk of you and the property that you're asking to be to borrow against. And there are all sorts of factors that will feed into that. Your experience as a landlord, the type of commercial property, the location of the property, the usage that it's being put to, the tenant's business, the strength of the tenant, the length of the lease, any break clauses in the lease. So there's a whole load of stuff in there that goes into working out the rate. But if you want a benchmark, you'll do very well if you get it below 3.5%, but it could easily be over 5%. So the best way to find out, Jabba, is to let us do an analysis for you, which is you ask us to send you out our fact find, you complete it, and then it'll probably be Tony. He handles most of the commercial mortgages within our brokerage, and we'll go and research and tell you the best we can find. So as I said to someone earlier, you can either just go back to my homepage as you're coming through YouTube, click on the About tab and email me, or you can contact me through Facebook in the link that I put on my Facebook page earlier in the thing. There we are. Yeah. Yeah, you get karate experts giving you advice. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've taught karate for X amount of years. You're at whatever level you are in karate, but there's always going to be someone that thinks they know more than you, that are less qualified than you. Yeah, I get that. Matthew, yeah. Peter, there we are. There's a good old name. Going back to in the past. Good to see you on board here, Peter, today. If I put half my inherited house in a trust to my sister, how would bridges and mortgage lenders view that? Would 50%, 1% to me change anything? Okay. So some mortgage lenders don't lend to trusts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't get a mortgage, but you are going to make it more difficult. So I would suggest that you again do what I said to Jabba, Peter. Get in touch with us to fill out a fact find, and then we'll give you more detailed advice rather than generic advice on the opportunities or the restrictions on what you want to do. Jabba says broker company name. Yeah, let me find that for you. Jabba, pop that in there. Just finding that now. I'm going to be shooting off in a minute. So guys, if you got a question while I'm looking for this, pop in there now. And pop it in there now. There we are. So I'm just cutting and pasting that because otherwise you'll be too late and I'll be gone until next week. There you go, Gemma. Now, if you just want to get straight onto, what's the best deal you can get me, then great, we'll do that. What our brokers don't get involved in is big strategy conversations. Well, what if I do this and what if I do that and that type of thing, because they want to spend their time brokering, not having strategy discussions. So that's my role. If you want a strategy discussion, then that's my role, because I've got the time to do that, because I'm not distracted by having a broker on a daily basis. I just own part of the company. So there we are. Good. Thanks a million. Well, you won't have to pass that much, Jabba. It'll be substantially less than that. But there we are. I know what you mean. Thanks a lot. Right. So we have come to the end of the questions. If you're yeah, glad you like that. There we are. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Now, this normally, often when I say that, it precipitates another question that someone wants to sneak in, and if they do that, I'm going to answer it. But failing that, Joanna. Oh God, you're making me laugh this morning, Joanna. That's good. So I'm going to be back next Monday morning, and we're going to do it all again with another round of property finance questions and answers. So if you've enjoyed this, give us a like. Someone's give us a love this morning. That was nice. Thank you. If you're watching this on the replay, put a hashtag replay in there so that I understand that that you watched it. That's always good to see people watching the replay, because not everyone's around at 8:30 in the morning, are they? On a Monday morning, there's other things to do in life. So have a great week. Have a fantastic week in whatever you do. See, I knew someone was going to do that, and there we are. So coming in, it's like an auction, isn't it? Going once, going twice, going 3 times, and the auction is just about to bring the gavel down, and someone pops up with another bid. Shaquille, you got in there in time, and I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to answer your question. Rather, you asked it, I'll answer it. That's the way it works. My mortgage is coming to an end. I've been offered a 1.57 fixed rate on a 2-year fix, 48% loan to value. I'm thinking if I just doing a product transfer, would it be worth shortening the mortgage term? I've got 15 years left. Not sure whether this is a buy-to-let mortgage or a main residence mortgage, Shaquille, but hey, you know, quite simply, you pay less interest over a shorter term. So if you can shorten the term to, it would only make a difference if you're on a repayment mortgage. If you've got 15 years left and you do it on 5 years and interest only, it won't make any difference at all because you're only paying the interest. But if it's a repayment mortgage, shortening the term, you accelerate the capital payment. So yeah, so if you can afford more a month and you want to commit to paying more a month, chop it down to 10 years or whatever you feel like doing. Good, there we are. Oh, see, now Gary's got in with a question. Thanks for that question, Shaquille, by the way. I'm looking at a property to buy a small city house to let out for serviced accommodation. What structure and lending would be the best method? Okay, so let's, thanks for your question, Gary. Let's deal with what you can't do first of all. What you can't do is a standard buy-to-let mortgage because you would breach the terms and conditions of any standard buy-to-let mortgage. And there's one particular clause in there that that you would breach, and that is the minimum rental term allowed on this mortgage is 6 months. So if you're going to do serviced accommodation, clearly you're letting for periods of less than 6 months, so you are in a clear breach. And if they find that out, and they may well do, they will issue a cease and desist notice to stop renting it out on a short-term let arrangement, go back to AST. And if you fail to do that, they will repossess you. So you can't use standard buy-to-let mortgages. Now, the next question is, do you have a serviced accommodation business that you've been running for at least 12 months? If you have, then there are commercial lenders, and they will base their lending the same way they would any bed and breakfast, guest house, boutique hotel on the how good you are at filling your property. In other words, your occupancy rates and your profitability. Now, if you don't have a service accommodation business already running, then it's going to change how they do that. And those type of lenders won't lend to you because you haven't got a track record in SA. But there are a handful, and it's not much more than a handful, of buy-to-let lenders, not the mainstream ones, that they will lend, and they will lend because of one thing. That clause I told you about that's in their T&Cs about 6 months minimum rental period, they've taken it out. So they will underwrite it based on you letting on an AST basis. So they're not going to underwrite it on your serviced accommodation turnover. They're just going to say, oh, it will rent at £800 a month on an AST. They'll base their lending on that, but they allow you to rent it out on an SA basis. So be honest too. We're very experienced in brokering either or both of those, Gary. So whichever one applies to you, get in touch in the way that I've said earlier in the in this broadcast, and we'll be happy to help you. Good. Shaquille said thanks. Good. No problem. Happy to help. Peter's back. I was pretty much thinking the whole thing would be a non-starter. Well, let's examine. Let's check it out, Peter. You know, it may not be. But again, you know, we can give you, when we got your detailed fact find and we understand your situation, we can give you accurate advice based on that, rather than generic advice, which is all I can give in this environment. Good. Okay. So we come to the end of another week, and on Pay we don't, because Joanna's back. So could someone, oh, you're picking up on this SA question. So could someone with I think it's a rent-to-rent operators have taken on properties and not checked the bills the bill rules and operating SA and leaving this landlord vulnerable? Absolutely. And listen, that's an endemic issue with rent to SA. So rent to SA, there's a big move about rent to SA is a strategy. And it is, it is a strategy, but it's a strategy that is only likely to work with a landlord that doesn't have a mortgage. Now, if the landlord's got a mortgage, it's absolutely, it's pretty much absolutely the case that they won't have the right mortgage, and that by letting to you, first of all, regardless of the fact you're using that landlord's property to rent on a short-term basis, you're breaching, just by having that contract with the landlord to do that, you're breaching the terms and conditions, because the terms and conditions of a standard buy-to-let mortgage says that not only does the minimum term have to be 6 months, minimum rental term, it has to be an AST, and you've got some sort of management contract with the landlord, and it has to be between the landlord and the tenant in situ. You're not the tenant in situ. So rent to SA, if it's with a landlord on a mortgage, is a multiple breach of that landlord's mortgage conditions. And to rectify that, the landlord would have to redeem that mortgage, take out a new SA compliant mortgage at an undeniably higher rate of interest, which they probably wouldn't do if they knew about that, just so they could rent their property out for you for SA. And if anyone's teaching rent to SA and they're not teaching their students that vitally important aspect, they're doing a great disservice in their training. I haven't been on rent to SA training, so I can't comment whether they are or not. But it's absolutely the case. So rent to SA is only going to work, A, if landlords haven't got a mortgage on their property, or B, if they refinance to an SA compliant mortgages. Yeah, no buy-to-let lender is going to allow rent to SA. You suspect a lot of it's going on. Absolutely. And I'm convinced it is, because I'm convinced people are just going out there with rent to SA and, whether they've been trained on it or not, and are just, putting landlords in danger of getting their property repossessed. And maybe there's some landlords that are dumb enough to fall for it. Restate the method of getting in touch. Yep, happy to do that, Gary. So you're coming through Rightmove. Is it not Rightmove? Where's my head at? You're coming through YouTube. So you can just go back to the home page, and there's tabs along the top. Click on the About, and there's a way to contact me there. Or you can, if you're on Facebook, you can just message me on my Kevin Wright Property Finance Expert page. Just popping that in the chat box now. Here we are. So either of the ways to get in touch with me, Gary, I'll pick up if you email me. Obviously, I check my emails daily, check my Facebook messages daily as well, more than once a day actually on both of those. So yeah, happy to help you on that. Good. Okay. So here we go again. I'm about to wrap up for this week. I'll be back next Monday at 8:30 when we'll do it all again. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you then. Don't forget to tune in next week. Bye for now.